Welcome to Storytime with Rec at Home. Today we will be reading Sakura's Cherry Blossoms by Robert Paul Weston and Misa Saburi. Sakura loved spring, her favorite time of year. This made perfect sense. Her name means cherry blossom, trees that only bloom in spring. More than anything, she loved sitting underneath the tall cherry tree, side by side with Oba-chan, whose voice was warm like sunshine. Together they sat in the shade of pink petals, watching them flutter. They ate bento box lunches, they told each other stories. "I've watched this tree grow all my life," said Oba-chan. "This is how I learned seeing these blossoms in bloom is always finest with friends." Sakura's father would soon begin a new job in America. They would fly across the sea where a new life awaited. High up in the plane, it seemed like a miracle racing through the clouds, so fluffy and pale, like rice scooped fresh from Oba-chan's pot. Their new house loomed up on a street with soaring trees peppering the ground, with shadows and light, but none had any cherry blossoms. Luke, a quiet boy, lived next door, gazing at night through a telescope. Sakura wanted to say hello, but she was too shy. Sakura's new school was a big, boisterous place where each word was new. They nipped and snapped on her tongue like the tang of pickled plums. Neko became cat. Sora had become the sky. Kutsu was a shoe. Sakura tried very hard, but she often made mistakes. She missed Oba-chan. She missed the cherry blossoms, their soft and sweet scent. She missed stories and picnics and the whispers of petals. One day, Luke saw her sad and still on the front steps. "When I'm down," he said, "I find it helps to look up. If you want, I could show you." Sakura saw stars, sprinkles of light, and the moon, pearl gray and shining. Its craters were like wide eyes watching the whole world at once. "There's a chance," said Luke, "one of these stars has gone dark, but we still see it because its last rays of light have not yet reached us on Earth." "Flowers are like stars," said Sakura. "They blossom, they sparkle, and then they fade, so we treasure them because one day they vanish." Luke stood very still. He had never thought of this. "I suppose," he said, "when you look up all the time, there are many things you miss." Sakura and Luke, soon they were friends who played, laughed, and went exploring. Sakura, for the first time, had begun to feel at home. Between friends, she found her words were limber and quick with no taste at all. They flipped and curled from her mouth as effortlessly as breath. When the winter came, Sakura's mother told her, "We have to go back. Not for long, but we must go. Oba-chan is very ill." Sakura's hometown seemed much smaller than before. In the cold, bright sun, even the tall cherry tree was shivering and leafless. Mother had been right. Oba-chan was very sick, dozing in her bed. But hearing Sakura's voice, she awoke, her eyes dancing. "My little blossom," she cried. "Seeing you again makes me so happy. It is all that I wanted, only this and nothing more." This time on the plane, Sakura did not marvel at the cotton clouds. She slept, dreaming of a sky churning with every season. Luke was excited seeing Sakura again, but when he asked her to go exploring with him, she said no. She was too sad. She was worried too. Might she forget Oba-chan, her face, her laughter? With no cherry trees nearby, what was there to remind her? "Don't worry," said Luke. "I have a surprise for you. Just wait until spring." Sakura did. She waited. The days grew warmer, and then the entire city burst to life, flowers blooming on every corner. By the river, both its shores blazed bright with cherry blossoms. Huge crowds of people had gathered to admire them. There were pink balloons, music, picnics, a parade, and even a marching band. Sakura and Luke found a quiet place to sit with their families. They ate lunch and told stories. They chatted, they played, they laughed. And Sakura knew what Oba-chan said was true. On a warm spring day, watching cherry blossoms bloom is always finest with friends. The end. This story was written in a series of tanka poems. A tanka is a traditional Japanese poem with 5 lines and 31 syllables. The first 3 lines follow the same pattern as a haiku, 5-7-5, but a tanka has 2 additional lines, each with 7 syllables. For example, I am a tanka, a poem with 5 short lines. Count my syllables. You will know I am finished when you get to 31. The first tanka poems were composed in the 7th century, more than 1,300 years ago. If you enjoyed Sakura's story, perhaps you could compose some tanka of your own. Thank you for joining us at Wreck It Home. We'll see you next time.